Hey there YouTube, it's Petey Two Finger, and I fixed up this center channel amp. This is what I use for playing my guitar. It's an 8-inch full range speaker. It's a stereo speaker. It has 4 connections for the woofer, and then there's 2 separate circuit boards that have the crossovers on them. And there's 2 tweeters. There's 2 separate tweeters. So there's 2 of everything on this speaker. It's a stereo speaker, but it's a single unit. It's stereo. I've never seen that before. So there's 4 total battery sleds for 18650 or lithium-ion batteries. They look something like this. This is actually a little bit bigger. This is a 26 or something. 217 is this one. But it's 24 volts on this pack here, and this pack puts out 24, so it's twice the capacity of 24 volts of those batteries. Powering this here amp is it's 7498, so typically for this job, a lot of times I'll see TPA 3116 or 3116D2 is the mono version, 100 watt. And those are great chips. This is a 7498. These are a little bit more powerful and they have a little better low end response. But today we put this equalizer. So here's the equalizer board. We paid $8 for the EQ. It had 4 knobs coming off of it with 2 triple wires, because you figure ground, right, and left. So it's a stereo. The entire thing is stereo. The EQ is stereo, and it's a 3-band bass, mid-range, treble. What I added today is this EQ. So we drilled these 3 holes and then went behind it with a 4-stinner bit to take out more material to manage, because the amount of thread on the pot is pretty narrow thread. It's not a real long thread on these potentiometers. I use these knobs here that have numbers on them. I think the knobs came out, they look really well with it. We tested it, everything works. There's a stereo 6.5 is it, 1/4 inch stereo input over here, and then here is a 3.5 input that's stereo, and then 2 mono 1/4 inch inputs. We got this really nice handle I put on here. It had a smaller golden curvy, like disco style, like cocaine handle. I didn't like that. There is a fuse down here. I don't know, it's kind of hard to see for you guys in black and white. We moved the fuse over here. That's the fuse. And I wanted to, the story with this amp is we found the speaker at Goodwill, and I, as a doing everything on a budget, I looked at the box the speakers came in, and the price tag from where they bought them was on it, and it was significantly expensive. I believe it was $250. So this speaker, it's an expensive full range speaker, okay? It's got 8-inch mica-filled propylene butyl rubber surround 24-ounce magnet, dual 1-inch pivoting soft dome tweeters. The sensitivity, it's 90 dB, 1 watt per meter, 20 to 150 watts at 8 ohms, $249 MSRP. So this is a really expensive speaker, and when we found it at the Goodwill, immediately thought I'd play my guitar through that thing. So, because I use NUX MG30 that's amp modeling and cabinet simulation. So what I found is this little amp. It's built into a silverware service box. This thing, I have it kind of up high, and it's kind of pointing about at my chest. This thing sounds so good. to give me that extra boost of volume in that sweet spot. Now we record all of this. It's recorded with the stereo mic on the camcorder, and then we're going line in and doing a board mix, and then I combine those in post for the videos that I'll upload to my YouTube channel. I like to have a record of what we do, and that's what we've been doing. So with this amp here, the idea is I can crank it up and it won't affect the mix on the tape. It won't affect my partner because it's not pointing at her. It's a little like hotspot monitor. And it sounds, I think it sounds, to me, it sounds really good. Out of everything else that I've tried in that spot, including regular, like, just guitar speakers, 12s, you know, Celestion, Fender speaker, Roland speaker. This is the one that I really love. Now it had before it had an external EQ. Now I put it inside of it. So you just pop the batteries in it and you plug on the multi-effector. There's a headphone out, which is 3.5. So I have a cable. I have like a 3.5 tweed braided, like thick one that busts out to 2/4 inch males. So I'll probably be using that, coming straight in here and putting this up on top, high, pointing at my chest when we go to play live. And Bob's Your Uncle. I'm working on finishing. This is actually finished. We did this tonight. We did it in one night. What was in there was a stereo, a dual gang potentiometer in here that I had off of, like, basically all of the inputs come together to one cable that goes to the amp, and in between there was this potentiometer. And I must have had props, like maybe the wire was broken or something, because I had over soldered two pieces on the hot side going from the amp to this pot. It was really weird what was in there. So yeah, I just ripped everything out, and instead I cleaned up the one side of the wire, and we're using the cables that came with the EQ. I just cleaned those up, and we did some soldering and put this in here. It went in real easy, and we did have one breakage. We had one like thin wire broke off of the jack, where like 8 wires are coming in on this jack. So I didn't see one of them came off, and that'll be the downfall. Eventually, I'll have another failure here, but that's just kind of how it goes. And we have stuff with us, so if something like that does fail and we're out remote, I can fix it. It might not be pretty. It might be like wire wrapped with some tape over it, you know. I've done that before, but what I've got coming up following this is really cool. I've tried so many different things, and like the cop-out thing coming out of the headphone jack, that's where I'm ending up with. You know, I mean, I had like JFET version of the 1970 Roland Super Bass head with a real spring reverb, this amp that I hand built. And that's what I was using with like a Gauss 400 watt speaker, like all this. And yeah, it definitely had a thing, and I loved it. But for what I'm doing now, I want all of the guitar tone coming out of the speakers to generally sound the same, which would be like, it's a lot of like Vox sound, like chimey Vox sounds that are pushed with treble boosters. If you know what that sounds like, it's a amazing guitar tone. Man, is it a beautiful sound. So someone had gifted me a Decade box, which really looked like it was just screaming for it to be converted into a multi-effector. So that's happening. Inside of this thing is just going to be the equivalent of 3 really simple pedals. Number 1, a Brian May, or actually it's Greg Fry treble booster. Number 2, the Demeter Fat Control, which is like Eric Clapton's mid boost. It's that same type of circuit that just boosts the mids. And lastly, the EP boost. So this will have an internal battery and basically a power switch and a couple of jacks on it to plug the guitar in and out. I think I'm going to put the input and the output jack on the same side of the unit, on the left side of the back. That way I don't have to have one cable way longer than the other to go to the right side for no reason. You know, if I'm designing it, what I could do is put the input and the output on the left side and then run a stereo cable over to the right side and put in a secondary input that just patches through the first one if it's not being used, because they have jacks that'll do that. But so I gotta see. I think I'm gonna keep it simple stupid and just put the 2 jacks in it, but that's what's coming up. We finished the EP booster. I have a Vero version of the mid boost built and it's ready to go. I just got to test it and make sure everything's cool. It had a TLO72 op amp in it, which is really not conducive. You should have at least an LM358 or a LF442. That's what it came with, but they're kind of hard to find. So I've got a LM358 here, and then I found a company called FutureLec. I've ordered from these guys before. FutureLec is sending me an LF442 because they had it. And also this weird transistor that's in the Greg Fry. So I should be getting both of those, and in the meantime I can, I'll just use a socket and sub in some other things. So the way I'm doing it is it's going to have an internal power pack with 12 volts going to a light 'em up blue switch with a internal fuse, and that'll shoot 12 volts back to the same board that the battery pack is mounted on. It's like elevated a little bit, so you can run screws through it and you don't have to worry about the sheet metal. So it's going to have the battery pack, the fuse. I might put diodes instead of wires in between the battery, the little jumpers you normally put in there to make the battery pack. I was thinking about doing that. Just in case you plug the batteries in wrong, it won't screw nothing up. It'll just won't work. It'll fault on the diode. But I've got a step-down transformer because it'll take the 12 volts down to exactly 9. I just want to run these 2 transistor effects that are biased at 9 volts at 9 volts. I mean, I know it's stupid. I could just bias them at 12, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to run them at 9, and then I'm going to take the final pedal is op amp based. That's and you don't bias it. It's a EP boost. I'm going to run that off of 12 volts. So I'll have to split the positive rail coming after the switch, and then I'm going to have strips. I'll have a Vero strip cut for the plus and the minus, so for each circuit board that needs that, I can run wires. I can just tack in on a strip. Say the strip will have 40 points on it where I can solder in. I'm probably only going to really need, probably like 8 grounds maybe, maximum. I would think. I don't know. So 8 minus 40, there's 32 extra holes in the strip. But all of that is going to be on this island that's going to be basically, it's like a little table with the battery pack, and I'm going to put the PCB for the step-down transformer, and then these little strips, these headers, where I can keep, once I install them, every piece that I install, I'll run a set of wires back to them and solder that in there so they can get their power. That's how that'll work. It's a bus. I'm making buses in it. So yeah, I want to, there's 4 screws for the hold the top panel on, and I want to make it so you can flip the top panel 180 over, and then you'll be able to get at the batteries. So that's how I'm building it. I'm gonna open it up on a TV tray, sandwich style open, and then run all the wires that way so they can reach, and then you'll flip it over, put the 4 screws in it, and Bob's your uncle. So I'm waiting on the PCB from England for the Greg Fry treble booster, but we've got the EP boost is built. It's not tested. It'll work though. And the mid boost I have used it before and it worked, but it had a TLO72 in it, man. I don't know what I was doing. But I've got an LM358 I'm going to run in it until the LF442 comes. So there's 2 goofy actives in this. There's a transistor for the Greg Fry treble boost, and then there's the op amp for the Demeter fat control. They say, oh, there is a difference, and it's minute, it's small, but they say that using the regular op amp, the TLO72, it breaks up sooner, and I don't want that. I want it to stay clean. So that's what's going on here as far as the DIY goes. I had one of my relatives bring a synthesizer over, an old Korg synth from the 80s, and I replaced the volume potentiometer. It had a slide pot that had kind of gone faulty. So I got to tear into an 80s analog synth that has digital control, digital memory. Those are my favorite synths, are those types that are like kind of like analog, but you can still program them with like a little 8-segment LED display. They'll be like a double, so you can go like 0 to 99. I love those synths. So yeah, it was really nice to spend time with my wife's cousin's son, I guess he would be, and he works at has an interesting job at the dispensary. So I talked to him and just learned, I learned a lot. Anyway, you guys, this is turning into a 20-minute video, so look for that pedal board. I mean, I just built one. I built like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is going to be the 6th one that I built. 7 counting my wife's pedal board. So yeah, I got to wrap it up with the pedal boards. This is probably going to be the last one. It's just that when you see this, when you see it finished, you're going to go, no wonder Petey went and built himself another pedal board, even though he had already kind of wrapped that up and finished. The last one I built just has 2 pedals on it, and man, I love it. I love it. It's a Catalan bred Naga Viper going into a hyped boost, which is the Boss FZ2 fuzz, the boost that's on that pedal, or it's in the Behringer SF300, the super fuzz. All right, you guys, take care. Talk to you soon. Hug your pets. We got 16 new pieces of music. I'm excited about that. Maybe 3 or 5 of them. Maybe you may have, if you really paid attention, maybe you'd recognize them because there's some old stuff making a comeback. But really excited about bringing this new music to you guys, and that's going to be coming soon. So stay tuned. Hug your pets. That's important. And peace.